To order, sorry, a minute or two late. We actually just came out of another meeting because it is teacher contract negotiation time. So we always like to give plenty of time to discussing making sure we continue to compensate our teachers well. So sorry if we kept you waiting for an extra minute. But for the record, it is Wednesday, October 15th. It is about 6:02 p.m. Calling to order this regular meeting of the Washington Township Board of Education. And we will begin with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, it moved last time. All right, and we will go ahead and start our agenda this evening with Dr. Pettigrew with our board recognitions.
Good evening, Board President, Dr. Taylor, and members of the board. Each year, the National Merit Scholarship Program recognizes exceptional academic achievements among high school students nationwide. This competition identifies juniors who demonstrate outstanding performance, offering both scholarship opportunities and national recognition. Tonight, we are proud to honor students from North Central who have earned 2 distinct levels of this recognition. The National Merit Commended students have distinguished themselves through exceptional performance on the PSAT, placing in the top 2 to 3% of all test takers nationwide. This evening, we're thrilled to recognize the following students. When I call your name, please come forward. Carson Ames, Julia Inan, and I apologize if I mispronounce your name, Zachary Hamstra, Finian Cohen, Lucy Kaiser, Patrick Neese, Lucille Roth, Finnegan Schermeyer, Lillian Tabor, and Livia Williams. Let's give them a round of applause. Congratulations. Congratulations, Lucy. Congratulations. Get all your pictures. Uh-oh. Okay. The National Merit semifinalist also represents another exclusive achievement. The top 1% of test takers in the respective state, fewer than 16,000 nationally. So we are thrilled to recognize the following students as National Merit semifinalists: Cheris Collins, Leon Kamaki, Deeki Candle, Jack Cooten, Marco Ladron de Guavier, and Gabrielle Worthman. I apologize if I mispronounced your name. Congratulations to you. Congratulations. Wonderful job. Let's give all of our students one more round of applause. All right, thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you, Dr. Pettigrew, and congratulations to all of you. It's a huge accomplishment. As we move on with the agenda, I will let you know that we love to have visitors, and I know that school governance is fascinating to everyone, but if those who were recognized were in a hurry to get to all of their other studying and extracurricular activities, you are welcome to step out. You don't have to stay. Thank you. All right, the next item on our agenda is the school spotlight. Mr. Hakeem for Northview.
It's on the right. It's a- Dr. Taylor, I need those readers you talked about last week. There it is. All right. Good evening, everybody. Great to see everyone this evening. Excited to present for Northview Middle School for our annual school spotlight presentation. It's been a great last 12 months to be a Falcon, and we've got some celebrations that we want to share with you this evening. So first with staff, Mrs. Taylor is here with us tonight. She was promoted from our math department chair to our new assistant principal. So we like to grow our own from within. So we're excited to have her in her new role. And then we added our MTSS coordinator role, and we had Mrs. Rice in that role as well. And she was one of our English teachers. We also have Mrs. Tanner as one of the Indiana Teach Plus Teaching Policy Fellows for this cohort 25-26. Our dean, Coach Sat, is doing ANALI with IASP, so we're continuing to do some leadership development there. It's been a phenomenal fall athletic season for the Northview Falcons. We have had district championships, several MIC champions, and then our girls cross country team won county champs with our two girls, both Elsie, well, first Tessa and then Elsie finishing first and second overall in county. So we are excited for what our athletes accomplished this past fall, and then we've got a pretty awesome basketball season teed up as well that we're excited for. We have a new fall play. So Miss Knoll, who does our musical with Northview Theater, added a fall play that will be taking place both tomorrow night and Friday night at Northview. So we'd love to have you come check that out with several students involved in both the cast and crew. And then we just got off of our two bigger field trips that we take in the fall, one being our 7th grade reach out trip, where we go to YMCA Flat Rock for 3 days, 2 nights. And then, and we took almost 200 7th graders on that trip. And then our Washington, D.C. trip, we had over 100 Northview Falcons out of the 205 that went on DC. I attended both trips and I'm still feeling the effects of that. But they were great. And those were record numbers for Northview for both of those trips. For our school community, as you all know, we made it through year 1 of the brand new building last year. It's still standing, I think. I know ABS is back there. Most of it's still standing. So we're excited to be getting into year 2 now and having worked out a lot of the kinks of moving into a new home. Our iLearn proficiency, which we'll see in a moment here, we had increases in all grade levels, both math and language arts. So that was super exciting and a huge compliment to our staff and our students and our families. We had record engagement in our athletics and performing arts last year, just big events across the board and more to come this year, which we're very excited about. And we, based on our data from last year, we did feel it was appropriate to apply for one of the IDOE's state awards, in particular the Excellence in Data-Driven Support Award. So we'll find out about that, but we figured we'd throw our name into the hat because like I said, it was a great year to be a Falcon. So looking at our achievement, just some real high level stuff here, but you know, if you're noticing some trends, you know, really proud of our staff, our students. When you see year over year growth in every single category that we're measuring here, iLearn Math, ELA, science, which our 6th graders take, and then our pass rate for the biology, iLearn. We're hoping to continue those trends, but it's been really fun to celebrate that, you know, with more and more kids reaching proficiency and our families seeing, you know, the fruits of the labor of the kids and our staff during the school year. So big celebrations in all of those areas from last year. You know, always looking at areas for growth, some of the challenges that we were able to pull out still from our current data and what we've looked at from last year. We're definitely not growing. So we grew, but not at the rates with our gen ed population when we're comparing our special ed subgroup as well as our English language learners. So we know we have continued work to do there to continue to meet the needs of all of our learners. And we've taken some additional steps already this school year through our school improvement plan to be more targeted in those particular areas. Obviously, we're always looking at our suspension rates with, the disproportionality of our students of color being suspended at a higher rate than their peers. So, we've added some additional supports, trying to be proactive in our approaches, making sure that all of our kids not only are meeting our high expectations, but that we're building the supports around them to help them get there. And then finally, the students below proficiency from last year's iLearn, we've done some strategic things in looking at, with our new MTSS coach, that's been a super helpful position that was funded through the Lilly Grant. We're getting really granular with our data and looking at specific kids. How close were they to approaching proficiency? How close are they to proficient? And then tailoring specific supports for those kids based on that. So we're looking at all those things, continued improvement, always trying to go from good to great. So these are some areas that we're working on this year. Some of the promising practices that we've implemented, this is dating back to last school year, and then obviously continued this school year as well. Northview has been very fortunate to have a partnership with the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching. This is now our second full year, as well as North Central. And then we have other schools coming online with that partnership. But that's allowed us to restructure our instructional leadership team. That's the group in the school that really focuses on where we're going with our school improvement plan and all the instructional work that we're doing for students in the building. So that's been a big lift, but also we've seen, some great early results from that type of coordination with our instructional leadership team. The improvement of our MTSS practices, so when we're talking about how we're reaching our students at Tier 2 and Tier 3 with additional supports, really being data-driven in that decision-making. We just had our every other week MTSS meeting this morning, and it's hard work, but when you are naming specific students and talking about the steps we're taking, the wraparound supports, and the various things that we're trying to do both academically and behaviorally, as a parent in my own building, I feel very encouraged that we're being that thoughtful as we're going kid by kid and looking at what it's going to take for those Falcons to succeed. Our school-wide SIOP implementation, which we started last year, specific teaching strategies to better meet the needs of our English language learners. Those strategies are really best practices for all kids, but we had the opportunity over a year ago to train like almost 50 of our staff members on those practices. And then we've really spent the last year plus now observing each other and seeing how those practices are being implemented in the building through all classrooms. And we had some great growth also in our WIDA data, which measures our English language learners. So we think we're on a good track there. And finally, I would just say, generally speaking, this has been, probably about a 3-year project now, just very clear and consistent school-wide expectations. We were very intentional talking to our feeder elementary schools in the spring. We want our 5th graders to really know what they should expect when they come into the middle school, and maintaining those high expectations behaviorally, the school culture in the building, what we expect academically. We know not all friends are going to, be there right out of the gate, but I think we've seen, and we've gotten really great feedback from families and just the consistency of what that's been in our communication and our follow through, which is obviously very important as well. So good stuff happening, always more work to do, but we're really proud of the work that we've got going over there at 91st and College. So we've got some special recognitions this evening. Mrs. Brannigan, Mrs. Taylor are here to greet some of the special guests that we have here, and Dr. Taylor there as well. So first and foremost, every year we have the opportunity to recognize a student. I had a tough time deciding on just one this year. So I picked a really special group of young ladies that stepped up this year in a leadership role. So the 5 students I'm going to call up here in just a minute, over the summer, they did training with the Joseph Maley Foundation. So, and that's an organization we've worked with as a district for many years, specific towards disability awareness and the types of things that, we want all of our kids to learn about. Well, this group, they trained over the summer to become one of the Joseph Maley Foundation's student puppet troops, which goes into elementary schools all over the city and does presentations for elementary students about disability awareness and inclusion. So I believe they've done 2 so far already this year. And it is, I'm so proud of them because not only did they have to go through the training, but they're performers now. And they're taking a very important message that we all need to hear in our world about inclusion and the recognition of various disabilities to young people all over the city. So with that, I'd like to invite up, we have Ella, Kai, Kayla, Abby, and May, if they could all come up here and get recognized for the great work they've done this year.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Awesome. Congratulations.
Parents, great time for a photo here.
Please come up. You can come up and take pictures. I was gonna take you.
Next up, we have the opportunity to recognize a parent in the Northview school community that has gone above and beyond with their contributions to our school culture. So Dee, can I have you come up, please? So Dee Karamasenis has been not just a Northview family, but very supportive of the Nora school community as well over the years. She is with Greek's Pizzeria. And Mr. Logan, our athletic director, and I came to her with a crazy idea last school year. We wanted to take some of our student athletic events and just blow them out of the water with what we called student nights, which basically meant pre-selling tickets, 150 to 200 Falcons staying after school, but we had to feed them. And in order to do so, we needed a really helpful community partner and sponsor. And Dee stepped up and has helped us with every one of our student nights. We keep the kids after school. We feed them some delicious Greek's pizza. And she's been sponsoring those nights through all of last year. And now we're getting rolling again into this year. As a former Nora parent myself, also a big sponsor of the Nora Bonfire every year, which I know the Nora Panther Cubs greatly appreciate. But these events have been absolutely critical for the building of our positive school culture. You can see what it looks like in the stands there, and we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you so much for your continued participation and commitment to the Northview community.
Thank you so much. Very great.
And next up, another community partner, not new to Washington Township, but new as a partnership with Northview this year. I'd like to bring up Amanda from 913 Sports. So for those of you that don't know much about 913, may be one of my favorite community partners in the entire state. They build bikes with kids, and their whole mission is built around teaching kids about biking, getting them physically active. And one of their capstone programs that we were fortunate enough to have at Northview for the first time this year was the Kids Building Bike program. So we had 4 or 5 specially selected Falcons that spent the fall building their own bike, learning how to do all of the parts of it in their very fancy trailer. I kind of wanted to hang out in that trailer for many hours on those days. I'm like, this is pretty sweet out here. It's actually very peaceful. But we got to select some students, and certainly with our redistricting as well, as you know now, all of the homes and communities that are right around the Northview Middle School all those students go to Northview as well. And we have the luxury of having the Monon right there and all the sidewalks. So not only did these students get to spend several weeks learning how to build their bikes, learning everything about biking, but the really fun part was once they were done, they got to hit the road and go on some bike rides. So we're really excited to have 913 as a part of that programming. We're hoping to continue with them in the spring where they actually bring bikes into the PE classrooms. They've been doing that at Nora for a long time. And my one quick story here. So this is Anderson, maybe my favorite child of all time, even ahead of my daughters. But so Anderson was a student at Nora. And when he got selected for this, he came to me, he said, Mr. Hakeem, he goes, I remember them from when we were at Nora and we did the bikes with Mr. Dalton. He goes, I never thought I would get picked to build my own bike. I go, well, you won, buddy. So he built his own bike, and you see him tooling around 91st in College. And we're just so thankful for all of you guys and your ongoing partnership with our district. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, we have to recognize our significant support and contributions that we get from the Washington Township Schools Foundation, dating all the way back to my days as a teacher at Northview. I know I'd get the call from Mrs. Kaiser saying, Tom, you're putting up too many Donors Choose projects. You need to slow down a little bit. But the Northview staff is very, very active in making sure that we are utilizing the support that we get from the foundation, not only through Donors Choose, but also through the foundation grants. You can see the ongoing support that we've gotten from the foundation year over year. Just in the past year, 15 different projects valued at over $7,000 coming through Donors Choose. We always use our Teachers Treasures membership. And this year, particularly hit close to home and our hearts was the fund that the foundation set up through Mrs. Levenhagen's family, our longtime administrative assistant who passed away. That fund brought in over $12,000, and we were able to use that in a variety of ways. The family wanted it to be hospitality focused for a welcoming environment for our school. So we were able to welcome back our staff this year with a full catered breakfast. They all got Northview blankets. Karen was always cold behind her desk, so we thought that was a great way to honor her. And then the new benches that we put out right in front with a nice plaque in memory of Mrs. Levenhagen. So all of those things came through that fund and the foundation support. So as always, thank you to Washington Township Schools Foundation. And with that, we know that today, like every day, is a great day to be a Falcon and a Panther. There we go, Dr.
Don't go anywhere. Mr. Hakeem. He can't even hear you. Mr. Hakeem, don't go anywhere.
I'm still here.
Okay, I want you to go back here.
Yeah.
Go back to slide 4, please.
I got you.
I mean, we look at data all the time, right? As a board, and we have our, reviews and whatnot. And, it's just always in our brains, but it's rarely this clear. Like, blow that up. Can you zoom in even more?
I mean, that's about.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
I just that's
Let's look at the green. The green looks great.
to just sit up there for an extra 30 seconds. So everybody watching at home, so everybody in the audience can just please take a minute to digest that. I mean, it almost brought me to tears. That's absolutely amazing. So that's all.
We
I was
appreciate that.
looking at that going, Dr. Taylor, oh gosh. And I just, I wanted to give that an extra highlight because wow.
Yeah, no, it's a team effort. And like I said, it's always awesome when you can welcome the staff back at the beginning of a new school year, put that data up there and say, we're doing the work, guys, and, go get after it. So we appreciate the recognition.
Thank you.
right,
Now I'll
thank
let
you, everybody.
step away. All right, next agenda item, superintendent's announcements. Dr. Taylor.
Thank you, President Fry. Good evening, board. Good evening, community. I have a few announcements. I want to first start off with an update regarding our average daily membership. As you can see there, we got our October 1st count of 11,050. You can see since then we've grown a few more students since that October 1st date. But I have a full analysis there for you in a memo that looks at our year-to-year breakdown for your review when you have an opportunity. I also wanted to update you on our strategic plan efforts. That is a look at our implementation dashboard. And so we wanted to make sure that we're communicating to our community what progress looks like with our strategic plan. And we're excited that our next board meeting will have a first quarter update. And we'll share a little bit more about our pillar group progress with the board and community. And really proud of our partnership with Education Elements, and want to remind everybody that that was only possible through Lilly Phase 2 grant support. So proud of that work that we're doing so far. Also, it's National Principals Month. So we want to encourage our community stakeholders, parents, staff, and students to make sure you take time this month to thank our principals, assistant principals, and I'm going to throw deans in there too. We're very fortunate to have some amazing administrators here in Washington Township and throughout the district, and just wanted to make sure we gave them a shout out here at this board meeting. Also want to invite the board and the community to our fall musical at North Central. Looking forward to Freaky Friday on Friday and Saturday, October 24th and 25th. I'm always excited to see our Panthers perform at the Burridge Auditorium, and looking very much forward to that. And then finally, want to give a kudos to the Business Services Department and leadership in particular, as they deserve recognition for maintaining a track record of positive budgetary performance as indicated by earning a AA rating on the most recent S&P report. A PDF of that report is attached here for your review. This continued rating demonstrates how well our Business Services Department is doing excellent work, being fiscally responsible to our community and our taxpayers. So that concludes my superintendent announcements this evening. Back over to you, President Fry.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. All right, the next item on our agenda tonight is comments from the public. We did not have anyone sign up, but if anyone is here who would like to address the board, you are welcome to do so at this time. And I don't see anybody here, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next item, which is the approval of the consent agenda. Dr. Kaiser.
President Fry, Dr. Taylor, members of the board, I recommend that you approve the consent agenda for this meeting. This consent agenda includes approval of minutes of the September 24th, 2025 regular meeting and the memorandum of the September 24th, 2025 executive session, approval of 5 payroll calculation summary reports, a claims docket in the amount of $10,288,412.72. Am I good?
Yeah, sorry about that.
I thought maybe I was reading like the wrong consent agenda or something like that. A claims docket in the amount of $10,288,412.72, a special personnel item in accordance with Indiana Code 20-26-5-11.2, a human resources report containing classified personnel, 26 new hires, numbers 120 through 145, 2 resignations, numbers 57 and 58, 3 terminations, numbers 10 through 12, and 11 leaves, numbers 12 through 22. Certified personnel, 4 new appointments, numbers 97 through 100, 1 resignation, number 20, and 1 transfer, number 17. There is 1 non-competitive grant, gift, or donation to present for board approval. The submission of the fiscal year 2025-26 Title 1A grant in the amount of $2,791,215.83, and information has been provided in your board packet for your review.
Board, any questions for Dr. Kaiser on the consent agenda? Seeing none, do I hear a motion?
I don't see the title grant though in board.
It's in, if you go into the content, all the information, there's no attachment, it's like the information.
Got it. Just the amount, really. Okay.
It has an executive summary there too.
Yeah, the summary.
Got it. Sorry.
No
Oh,
problem.
okay.
No, thanks for asking, Mr. Thompson. Did I have a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda as presented by Dr. Kaiser.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? All right. Consent agenda approved. Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. Next item on the agenda is Mr. Boots, capital construction project change orders.
Thank you, Madam President. Good evening, Dr. Taylor, and members of the board. I am here this morning asking for approval of a single change order number 007 to Skillman Davis Joint Venture for the North Central Phase 3 project. The amount of the change order is $331,783 and will be funded from the capital referendum funds. Be happy to respond to any questions.
Board, any questions? There's a lot of detail on this one.
No questions, but just a comment. It made me a little nervous that you were first popping up. I thought you were about to hit us with a whopper.
I've already given my thanks.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the 2016-2020 capital construction project change orders as presented by Mr. Boots.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Action item number 2, recommendation for new high school courses. Dr. Seaver.
Good evening, President Fry, Dr. Taylor, and members of the board. I'm here tonight to request your approval of our recommended new high school courses for the 2026-2027 school year. North Central High School is committed, as you know, to expanding access to rigorous and relevant learning opportunities for our students. To support this goal, we propose the addition of new courses within the Science, English, Polytechnic, and Health and PE departments. In partnership, the JEL Career Center aims to launch 2 new pathways, the Heating, Ventilation, and Air Conditioning, or HVAC pathway, as well as biotechnology. These offerings were strategically selected to align with the redesigned high school diploma requirements and to help students earn an honors or honors plus seal. Collectively, the courses strengthen pathways for students pursuing enrollment in post-secondary education, enlistment in the military, or direct entry into the workforce. A detailed rationale in your board packet includes the proposed course information for ACP Biology, Biotechnology, Pharmaceutical Manufacturing, the HVAC pathway, English 111, Discovering Literature, Principles of Interior Design, Entrepreneurial Operations, and Introduction to Public Service. The financial impact for this is just curricular materials fees. This does not involve any new staff members, as we will reallocate staff based on enrollment. And I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Board, any questions? And
Really just a comment. I'm really excited to see some of these courses, especially the ACP courses. I remember taking those in high school and not having to take them at IU when I went to IU. So
and thank you. I was going to clarify, there are of these are 2 of these are actually dual credit, correct?
ACP Biology is dual credit through IU Bloomington. Biotechnology and HVAC has the potential to be dual credit through Ivy Tech based on teacher credentialing. English 111 is dual credit through IU Bloomington. And then the 3 others, Principle of Interior Design, Entrepreneurial Operations, and Introduction to Public Service, all have the potential to be dual credit through Ivy Tech. So all of these could be dual credit courses. For next year, we would definitely offer them for high school credit. And then depending on teacher credentialing, we would determine if we could also offer the college credit.
Great, thank you. Do I have a motion?
move to approve the recommendation of new high school courses as presented by Dr. Seaver.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 5-0. Thank you, Dr. Seaver. And you get to stay up there for action item number 3, submission of the Lilly Pathfinders Innovation Grant.
And actually, while I'm here, I will also thank Mr. Rent and Mr. Funk for their partnership in developing the courses that you just approved. We've been working alongside each other since October of last year on these new courses and determining what would be the best fit for our school. So huge shout out to them. So our next item is to request approval to submit the Lilly Pathfinders Innovation Grant for the 26-27 school year. The grant application is what we're requesting your approval of. If awarded the Lilly Pathfinders Innovation Grant, we will purchase instructional supplies and materials, as well as program equipment for the new biotechnology pathway at the J. Everett Light Career Center. It will also provide funding for teacher professional learning stipends, program marketing and outreach, as well as contingency items as needed during program implementation. In alignment with our district's strategic plan, Pillar 1, Rigorous Learning for All, this pathway will expand opportunities, increase interest, and improve skills in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The total financial impact is $20,000. We are very excited that Ivy Tech Community College is offering this grant to help us launch this program, which would be dual credit through Ivy Tech in partnership with the Eli Lilly Foundation.
Board, any questions? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the approve submitting the grant to the Lilly Pathfinders Innovation Grant for the 2026-27 school year as presented by Dr. Seaver.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, I will call for the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. It passes 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
And the next several items as we get close to the end or close to the end of our budgeting cycle. Mrs. Smith, I'll let you walk us through each one. Thank you.
Thank you, President Fry, Superintendent Taylor, and members of the board. This evening, I come to you with the third and final step of the budget process. Just to give you a little recap, we had, there's 3 major steps required by law. In August, we held a budget workshop and asked for permission to advertise, and then we advertised on our district website and then also on the Gateway public website. Then in September, we held public hearings on the budgets and also bus replacement plan and capital projects plan. And this is the third and final step where we ask for the board for adoption of several different resolutions for the 2026 budget. So that is where we are this evening. And the first item that I'd like to bring up for approval is the what's called a tax form, budget form, Form 4. So you'll see that in your documents in your board packet. And that is a ordinance resolution that states all the historical stuff that we talked about. None of the numbers have changed in all of the 3 steps for this year, for the 2026 budget. So you'll see there the date of adoption, which is this evening, and then the adopted budgets for the major funds there. On the left-hand side, you'll see the funds, and then the adoption budget amounts equaling a little over that $221 million there. So from that, you'll see the adopted tax levy, and that is the maximum levy that we can raise for those with this type of budget, and also the tax rate. So after we do all of this, then we submit this on the Gateway website for the Department of Local Government Finance. And in that process, then they work all of our numbers, and they do all that throughout this fall for all school districts, cities, towns, libraries, all that. And then what they do is they issue a 1782 notice, which is a draft budget order. We review that, and then they certify that by the December 31st of this year, and then we start fresh in January with that information. So you'll see in your board packet this Form 4, which then on the second page does require all of the board members' signatures to officially adopt this budget resolution Form 4. So I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have and ask for approval as presented.
Board, any questions? Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the adoption of the 2026 budget resolution for the 2026 appropriation and tax rates, also known as Form 4, as presented by Mrs. Smith.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it 5-0. Thank you. Next up.
Next, I would like to ask the board for approval of the capital projects plan. So this also was presented to the board during these processes and also had the public hearing at the last board meeting in September. And this is a resolution that we need for the board's approval and board signature on this resolution to officially adopt the capital projects plan. I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have and ask for approval of the capital projects plan for budget year 2026 as presented.
Questions, board? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
Move to approve the resolution to adopt the capital projects plan as presented by Mrs. Smith.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I did just want to point out for our big audience in the community tonight, but we do record and live stream. Tonight we are essentially just voting on the resolutions and the actual information of what are in these plans has been presented to us in prior meetings. So if this feels sort of formulaic, I just want people to be aware that we've been through several meetings of what the actual data and numbers are. We had to go through all sorts of steps with different timing of publications and notices and hearings. And so if it seems like we're very quickly just approving budgets, this is simply the resolution that summarizes everything we've been working on over the last couple months. So with that said, I will call for the vote on the capital projects plan. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Next up.
And then next, customarily mimics the capital projects plan. We have the bus replacement plan. This too has been advertised and published on the Gateway website and also on our district's website. And this is the formal resolution for the board to adopt for the bus replacement plan for the budget year of 2026 as presented.
Questions? Motion?
Move to approve the 2026 resolution to adopt the bus replacement plan as presented by Mrs. Smith.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, no. And the ayes pass 5-0. 2 more to go, Mrs. Smith.
Next, we have a customary resolution that we have the board approve. School districts have the boards approve. And this is a resolution that allows us during that 1782 draft budget notice to be able to reduce current year's appropriation if needed to fund the next year. So what I mean by that is if it comes to December and we have excess appropriation, and then also need that appropriation to fund the 2026 budgets, then we could do that through that process without having to come back to the board. So this is a resolution allowing the district to reduce budget appropriations if needed while going through the 1782 draft notice. So I would ask the board to approve this customary resolution as presented.
Board, any questions?
I have one. So has this happened?
Not in my time, but I've always had the resolution.
Have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution to reduce budgets if necessary as presented by Mrs. Smith.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. And the ayes have it 5-0. And last but not least, tuition support transfers.
Yes. So just to remind the board and the community why this resolution is required, back in 2019, if you recall, we prior to 2019, we had different fund names. There was general fund, there was capital projects, there was transportation operating, and bus replacement. In 2019, the state did a restructure and dissolved those funds. From the general fund, they had 4 categories. They took 2 of those categories and moved them into what you now know as the education fund. 2 of the other categories that were in the previous general fund moved into what you know as the operations fund, along with the items from the capital projects fund, the transportation operating, and the bus replacement funds. So all of those moved in. However, the funding that used to go into the general fund did not get split out. We still receive that ADM, the average daily membership, state tuition, in its full entirety into our education fund. Since that happened and they did not divide those dollars out for those two categories that moved into our operations fund, they, in Indiana code, they allow you to move and transfer up to 15% of your tuition support to help fund those other categories that moved into the operations fund. So this is a required resolution to allow us to do that transfer from our education fund to our operations fund for those other two categories. I would be happy to answer any questions the board may have and ask for approval of this resolution as presented.
Board questions? Motion?
Move to approve the resolution authorizing tuition support transfers from the education fund to the operations fund as presented by Mrs. Smith.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for the vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it 5-0, and we have a budget. Thank you.
Woo, thank you.
Happy students.
And that concludes our action items for the evening. So we do have one information item, a very highly anticipated information item. So Mrs. Smith, I will let you go ahead and introduce it.
Yeah, I wanted to kick this off. I was hoping to have a packed house tonight because it's property tax education. I mean, I don't know who would want to miss that, but I will tell you, since being named superintendent, the question I have been asked the most, besides the question about football, I'll say the second most repetitive question I've been asked is, what are the implications of SEA 1 on Washington Township schools? And so we are delighted, and as you know as a board, because you approved it, a partnership with Policy Analytics to begin that education and look at that budget forecast and implications, because it does have implications for decision-making for the future of Washington Township schools. And so I wanted to turn it over to Ms. Smith and then over to our partner in Policy Analytics, but not new partner, Ms. Herndon, who's very familiar with the district. And so, Ms. Smith, I'll turn it back over to you.
Sure. Going kind of back to what we just went through with our budget adoption. When you think of our major funds that we adopt, there are different criteria for each one of the funds for the revenue that we receive for those funds. For instance, our education fund is our main fund that we receive our state tuition support from, and that is based on our average daily membership counts twice a year. We have a October 1st count and a February 1st count named as our fall and our spring accounts, and that is our main funding for that education fund. However, our other funds that you saw on that Form 4 and that the board adopted this evening they range from debt service fund to our operations fund to our operating referendum fund to our debt service capital referendum fund. All of those funds have a tax rate and a levy property taxes where we receive that funding from that. So this kind of implementation from SEA 1 impacts for our district have all to do with those property taxes. So it could have anything to do with the amount of levy that we receive, the property taxes. It could have something to do with the rates. It has all different types of impacts for our district. So of course, as we're going through this, like Dr. Taylor indicated, I've been meeting with a lot of CFOs in the state of Indiana, let alone IASBO, Indiana Association of School Business Officials, and Marion County CFOs talking about this and talking about how the impacts are for each one of the districts. So along doing this, of course, we are very familiar with Policy Analytics and all their expertise. They have previous CFOs. And if you remember, I'm sure you remember Ms. Jane Herndon from Ice Miller, who is our bond counsel. So she has spent years with our district in helping us through our bond and lease processes. So she has since retired from Ice Miller and now is working for Policy Analytics. They are very, very fortunate to have someone with her caliber and her expertise to be able to help assist Indiana schools during all of this trial and challenging changes that are happening throughout for the whole state of Indiana. So we ask them to put together some of the impacts, and she's going to share that with you with her presentation based on levies and rates and comparisons with other Marion County school corporations within the area. So I will turn it over to Jane, and we appreciate her being here for us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Madam President, Dr. Taylor, board members, thank you for having me be here tonight. I have to tell you, I really enjoyed hearing about Northview Middle School because I remember how many years ago we were planning that building, and it's really rewarding to hear all the great things you're doing in the building. So thank you very much for that. I am excited to be here for Policy Analytics. I wish that I could go out and give great news to everybody. Senate Rolled Act makes that a little bit difficult sometimes, but I believe that having data and information is the best way then to deal with these uncertainties. So with that, if I can figure out how to do it. Okay. There we go. I'm not sure what I just hit. We'll figure it out. One thing I wanted to explain about Policy Analytics is we actually go out and gather data about your school corporation, actual parcel level data of every taxpayer property, look at those in our model. We take data from all different places nationally and statewide to help us do our projections. They're not just state averages, it's about Washington Township. There's assumptions that we bake into these models. We assume your gross assessed value, in other words, the value of your properties before deductions, will continue to grow somewhere around 2 to 4% over the next 10 years on average. And we also assume that your operations fund levy that you heard Mrs. Smith talk about will grow by 4% as currently allowed by statute. That could always change, but that's what our assumptions are. Need to talk a little bit about the relationship between net assessed value, that's the value of the property within the school corporation, times that tax rate is how the school gets its revenue. And we've been in a place for several years where net assessed value is growing. And that will allow districts that to either manage to a tax rate and get a little bit more money, or in some cases ask for the same amount of money and even have the rate drop a little bit. With Senate Bill 1, there is going to be pressure on that net assessed value, and we're going to see places where it's actually contracting or less. And to the extent that it lessens and you need the same amount of money, that's automatically going to make tax rates go up. And there needs to be a decoupling from the concept a higher tax rate means you're getting more money, because with Senate Bill 1, that is not the case. There are a lot of changes in Senate Bill 1. I'm not going to read all these to you, but basically deductions are increasing over the next 6 years. We have new deductions we've never had before. So 2% properties like apartments now will have deductions that they didn't have before. And business personal property, in some cases, $2 million or less, get exempted. So those are all changes that are going to put pressure on the net assessed value and lower that as we go forward over the next 6 years. So let's look at your school corporation's tax base. You have a number of taxing districts within your school corporation. However, the largest one is the one over there on the left-hand side, the 800 Washington outside. That's 93% of your tax base, and that's basically the olive green on the map. the total tax rate that taxpayers who live in that part of your community pay is $2 and basically 54 cents. That's county, city, school, library, all those rates together. That's the total rate they pay. The higher the tax rate, the more likely it is units of government suffer from circuit breaker loss. However, in your case, because a good chunk of the school corporation's tax rate was approved through referendum, in your case, it's 64 cents in 2025 with both your operating referendum as well as your capital referendum. That means that this $2.53 is really less than $2 as far as the rate that's within the caps. That's a good thing, because that means that your district has less circuit breaker loss than some other similar situated districts. That's a good thing. It's something your community approved and supported the district, and it has had long-range benefits because of circuit breaker loss.
I'm sorry,
Please.
go back to the beginning of that paragraph and just say it again.
Okay. So
I'm sorry, but the point where you said
yes.
how much of it is actually,
So that $2.53, $1.16 of that is school tax rate. Of that $1.16, 64 cents of it is rate that was approved by voters. And because of that, it's outside the tax caps. That is a huge benefit to you. That means that that rate, instead of $2.53, it really goes down to less than $2. And when you're less than $2, really there are some homes hitting the caps, but your 2% properties aren't at the caps, your 3% properties aren't at the caps. And so that helps you.
thank you. I
That's a
just
good
needed to
fact.
Hear it twice. to all.
I know it's
Yeah.
a ton of data, and it's hard to do it quickly because I'm between you and going home. I understand. All right. So again, we looked at those taxing districts, and you can dig into this at your own and look at, which community you're most interested in. You can see there on the top left, we have the median homestead value in 26 in each of the different taxing districts. The median homestead in all of Washington Township is $301,700 for 2026. 22% of all the parcels are hitting the tax caps. And over on the bottom right, you can see cap 1, that means homesteads. You have about 31% of your homes hitting the caps. The rest are not. Cap 2 property are things like apartments, long-term care, ag, which you don't have much of. Those properties, really a very small amount, 2.6% are hitting the caps, and none of your business, your cap 3 properties, are hitting the cap. That helps you with Senate Bill 1 because there's basically places for the liability to go. As the tax rate comes up, more of those properties will start to hit the cap, but you have plenty of room for that to happen. There are some districts that those bars are largely orange already, and there's no place for the liability to go, so it ends up being loss to your operations fund, basically, money you can't collect. You're in a good picture with regard to the makeup of your district.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah,
And I'm
please.
sorry, I know that
Please.
you're between us and leaving,
Please.
but this is the
It's
single most important thing in what we do. So I promise not to keep interrupting you, but we've got to understand this. Can you explain what's different about the parcel makeup or, whatever in Washington Township? Why are other districts all orange and
Yeah.
we're green, other than we have been so fiscally responsible to
course.
not be raising our school tax rate over the years?
And I'm going to put a little pin in that question because we're going to get to that. But one of the reasons is what I just said about tax rate, because a chunk of your tax rate is that referendum approved, so it is outside the cap. Okay, that's probably one of the bigger factors, but I'm going to explain in a minute the other factor. The other piece at the top there is looking at the value of the homes in your school corporation, the homesteads. And you can see you have a chunk in that $300,000 range. You also have, really compared to a lot of the other Marion County schools, you actually have some pretty high-end houses, as you know, as well. So you have over $1 million, you have 664 parcels that are over $1 million in value. So this goes to your question, the makeup of the tax base. So this is Washington Township on the far left. This is gross assessed value, meaning the value of the property before deductions are applied. And you can see you're highly residential with 70, almost 70%. However, you have a decent chunk of commercial and apartments. That helps you here. If you were like an Avon or a Brownsburg, that's about 90% residential with really very little commercial and other types of taxpayers, you're more likely to see circuit breaker loss. This helps you because you have some diversity in your makeup of the type of taxpayers. The middle box then shows you what happens when we start putting those deductions on in 2026. And you can see your commercial is not getting any deductions. So their portion of the pie gets larger. Your apartments have pretty minimal deductions right now, and they also grew, so they are getting a little bit larger chunk of the pie. And the far right box or graph is what your assessed value looks like when we take out TIF. So you have a little bit of TIF. You went from 8.9 million down to 8.7. But not a tremendous amount. That's the other thing that helps you a little bit here, is that you're actually able to collect on those commercial properties. So that's one of the reasons that you have less circuit breaker as well. So what drove your growth this last year? We want to look at gross assessed value before those deductions are applied, because in theory, if you could grow your gross assessed value fast enough, you could offset these new deductions. We don't think that is likely, and I'll show you a little bit more why. But this year, you got some help. So your gross assessed value grew by 12%. That was largely driven by your residential, and it went up 9.6%. That was a pretty high increase compared to other districts, and I'll show you that in a moment. You can see your apartment and your industrial went up quite a bit. That was driven by changes in what are called cost tables by the state. Those types of properties, their value isn't just market value. They use these cost tables. The bad news is that those cost tables hadn't been updated since prior to COVID. So this really is a one-time kind of adjustment, kind of a true up. It helped this year, but I don't think you can count on that kind of growth in the next 6 years. So that's the reason your gross assessed value grew as strongly as it did. And that helped you as some of these new deductions came on. So top left here is your net assessed value. The green line is gross and the blue lines are net. You can see how the differential between that blue and green line gets bigger over the next 6 years. That's because the deductions are getting bigger in each year. By 2031, then, all the deductions will be fully implemented, and you'll be back to a place where you'll get some growth again, because our assessment system didn't change. It's still based on market, and to the extent market value increases, you get the benefit of that. The bottom two charts are describing in dollars the value of those deductions. So it's basically the dollars associated between the green and the blue lines. On the left-hand side, you see the homestead deductions. They will increase each year due to Senate Bill 1. And you can see after 2031, they continue to increase. Why is that? Because they are going to be a percentage completely going forward. If you remember, before we had a standard deduction that was a flat dollar amount, and then we had a supplemental that had a percentage. We're going to a complete percentage, basically 2/3. So as a home value increases, the deduction is going to keep up with that home growth. That's good for homeowners. That's difficult for you because that's put pressure on your net assessed value. The right-hand side, the green bars, is 2% property. So for you, that's basically your apartments and your rentals. For the first time ever, they get deductions. So you'll see that that grows then over the next 6 years until 2031, where it's fully implemented. So that is going to affect you down the road. Top right box, you can see past 10 years, your net assessed value has grown on average 4%. This year, it grew 6.2%. But for the next 5 years, we're projecting at a negative 3.6%. And you're not alone in that. That is the picture across the state of Indiana. Because of these increasing deductions, the effect is driving down net assessed value. This is the comparison I was telling you about for Marion County, and I found it interesting. You can see Washington Township top left, median homestead, highest median homestead in all of Marion County. Top right, residential growth in the gross AV from 25 to 26. You're in the middle at 9.6. When you look at all gross AV growth, again, you're in the middle. But now look at net assessed value. You're actually down closer to the end. Why is that? Because you have more value, larger valued homes. So when you're talking about a percentage and you have larger value homes, that means there's more pressure on that net assessed value. The deductions are larger. So let's talk about revenue a little bit. We've talked about circuit breaker loss for many years now, and that's shown in this chart by those navy blue bars. A little good news is that you can see, because of your makeup of your tax base, your circuit breaker loss is actually going down due to Senate Bill 1. Because the rates are being pushed up, more of those properties that aren't hitting the caps, like the 2 and the 3%, will start to hit that. And then it's less loss for you because there's places for the liability to get pushed. The blue hatched line there is due to the new homestead credit. So you may have heard about that $300 or 10% homestead credit. That's a credit gets applied to a taxpayer's bill after circuit breaker, and it's lost to you. So the hashed mark there in blue is the operations fund money that you are not going to be able to collect because of that $300 10% credit. The orange is debt fund money that you will not be able to collect. When this statute was written, the General Assembly did not protect debt from this kind of loss. That's different than they did with circuit breaker. We think Standard & Poor's is probably going to come back and say, state of Indiana, you need to protect debt from this kind of loss, but it's not there right now. So we've broken it out between the hashed blue and the orange. If that changes, basically what's orange will become hashed and have to come out of your operations fund. So those are dollars you're not collecting because of this new credit. The green is the fact that your referendum fund also has some unfunded credits. They're the over 65 and veterans. So this is money that you're not able to collect because of that Senate Bill 1, 10% $300 credit. This is the area that I think Washington Township is probably hit the hardest with in some ways, and it has to do with your operating referendum fund. If you recall, voters approve a maximum tax rate, not a levy historically. So to the extent that your net assessed value grew and you levied that same tax rate amount, you might be able to collect more revenue. Now, with that net assessed value shrinking, that same 25 cents is going to give you less money in the referendum fund. And remember, over these next 6 years, your expenses in that fund is likely to increase due to inflation. So less money, more expenses. At this point, we just said, what would it look like if you kept 25 cents out for 10 years? We understand that your last year to collect referendum dollars under the current authorization is 2025, but we wanted you to see what that looked like as far as revenue collections. I will say that many districts who have referendum, when they saw this type of information, there is discussion about perhaps going out for a referendum maybe earlier or with a different tax rate amount. We've heard word of mouth that there's upwards of 40 different school corporations that are considering going next November of 2026 because of this type of pressure on their funds. This shows you your operations net revenue, the amount that you're expected or would be able to collect in your operations fund. You see that you are still able to grow that in spite of Senate Bill 1. Again, that is partly due to that makeup of your district and the fact that your tax rate is a lot of it's outside the caps. So you're able to raise money in debt and still collect money in your operations. The question will be, is that enough operations money to keep up with what you're currently doing with inflation? And I know that's something your team's talking about. Let's look at tax rate. So we're assuming in this slide that you're asking for the same amount of debt levy that you are this year for the next 10 years. Even with that, you can see the school tax rate will grow over time. It shows it going down in 2026 because of that nice net assessed value growth you got still this year. After that, we're projecting that total tax rate to increase up to $1.40. You can see over on the right-hand side, statewide, the 2025 school tax rate was $1.03 across the state. And we're projecting the average school tax rate by 2031 to be close to $1.38. The second part of the slide then on the bottom, this debt service rate. And you can see here the state average debt service is that 43 cents. Your debt service rate that is inside the caps, so it's not the referendum rate, is only 12 cents. That shows you how small that is compared to the state average. And then you can see that does grow there to almost 14 cents. Let's look at homeowner impact then. Got to get my notes here. This is a homeowner that lives in Washington outside that taxing district that was Olive that made up 93% of your tax base. You can see that their bill that they paid in 2025 was $36.27. That's school, county, city, library, all in. You can see because of that $300 or 10% credit, it's expected that their bill will increase or decrease down to 3504. So my math's not always great, but that's, 100 and some dollars. I think there's concern that taxpayers thought we were getting historical tax relief. And in some cases, I think that it's possible that they might be surprised at what the relief actually is. And actually, in your median homeowner here, and that value, if you remember, is $301,700. I'm looking in the text box on the bottom here. The credit that they received was $285. So they didn't even get the full $300. They got 10% of their tax liability. You can see over time, though, it's expected that their bill would increase. And that's due to assessed value growing, and it's flattened because of the deductions, but it certain hasn't flatlined. It's going to continue to grow over time.
I'm sorry.
Mhm.
Can you define again for me fixed debt levy?
Means you are collecting the same amount of money in your debt fund each year. We run different scenarios. And for example, sometimes a district comes back and says, we have a big project, we need more money in our debt fund. Sometimes they say, we want to drop it for a couple years. So we can run all different scenarios. For tonight, we thought it was easiest to say, if you just collect the same amount of money in your debt fund, what does this look like?
That's not referendum.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
So I think the takeaways to me is certainly there are some challenges, especially with your referendum fund and some of this $300 10% credit loss that you're going to experience. But I also think the makeup of your community and the fact that you have some of your tax rate approved through a referendum helps you compared to some other districts. Glad to answer questions. I know it's a ton of information to get your head around.
Board questions?
So based on this taxpayer impact scenario that you just described, median taxpayers will see a small decrease in like 2026, but then they will see an increase as
Correct.
it goes up.
Correct.
So it's a scam.
I can't say that.
Got it.
Yeah, I think the thing to remember, and I'll say this a different way, because I've had a school board ask me this in a little different way. They said, who stole the money? So I think we have to remember Senate Bill 1 wasn't only a homeowner bill. It helped ag. It helped apartments. It's exempting out business personal property. So there were a lot of changes that got kind of thrown against the wall or implemented, that it wasn't solely about homesteads.
But that all negatively impacts us. Because of the deductions and because of, just want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly.
Other questions? Oh.
Well, more, please.
No. I mean,
there more
I
questions?
have
Oh.
to digest a little.
I
bit.
know,
So
yeah,
it's
I'm
just
sitting here like, I know I have them, I just like, whew.
Is there an opportunity? How would we, as we come up with questions, just shoot them to you, Becky, Mrs. Smith? Okay. Perfect.
And Ms. Herndon too, just real quick, can you talk about the implications for other municipalities too? Not, because I know that that's,
Yeah,
it's hitting them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple things on that. So we're talking about schools, but when you're talking about net assessed value shrinking, that affects libraries, cities, counties, everybody. And so this isn't just a school problem. It is in that property tax is one of your main ways to fund your your programs besides what you get from the state. And so it is more acute for schools. However, counties, cities, everybody's trying to get their head around this right now. And there is real concern with those pies shrinking. You're going to see tax rates going up, even if people are asking for the same amount of money. And that's across the state, period. In Marion County, as many of you may know from the newspaper, the lit was scheduled to go away in 2028 as it was used as a tax credit. It's called property tax replacement credit. It's a credit that homeowners get on their bill basically and lowers the amount of their liability. It was scheduled to go away in 2028. Marion County decided to move that up until 2026. So it's going away in 26. The good news for you is you got quite a bit of NAV growth. So that actually helped offset a little bit the impact of what you might have otherwise felt from that elimination of the PTRC. I think they're using it for public safety is what at least what I read in the paper. So, but it's across the state. It's issues with all units of local government.
What do you see as long-term impacts of this? Like, I know you like, but like long, like.
I think you're going to see more and more districts have to do referendum, both operating and quite frankly, I think our numbers were showing something like 40 or 50 school corporations will be over 70-cent debt rate by 2031, which means any project, regardless of the size, will have to be on a referendum ballot. So you're going to see schools, in order to even maintain their facilities, they're going to have to do referendum. And then the question will be, will communities support it? I mean, your community has supported you and your students. That's not true with all communities. And I do think it's a situation where those people who get support will continue to be able to help their students. And we're going to have a lot of districts that aren't able to do that.
I'm sorry. Forgive me if this is just a ridiculous way to frame this question, but so with that, what you just said, so if I'm understanding, in the short term, property owners, residential owners will likely see that $300 credit, or they'll see a dip down, which will make them happy. But then the projection is that that number is going to go up. So as I think about school systems like ours, who may be relying on referenda to help offset that impact to us, that's a huge concern about community support, because they're already paying more potentially in property tax. And are they going to want to add to that to help support schools and everything else?
And that's a concern. I think their liability is going up because their home value is growing, not necessarily because you're asking for more money. I'd also say the reduction they may see in 2026, if you pay your property tax bill through your mortgage, we're talking about $100. I'm not sure how much people are really going to notice the reduction.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Many, I think there's 6 school corporations who are going out for the referendum this next month. Many of them would have been renewals. And in some cases, instead of renewing at the same rate, they're asking for a little bit more. They've spent a lot of time talking to the community to make sure they understand about Senate Bill 1, educating them on why we're asking for a higher rate to just be able to do what we're currently doing for our community and our students. So there's a lot of communication, education, trying to get the word out. It's tough. Yeah. I think the other thing is we've heard from the certain legislators that this isn't necessarily done. So there could be more changes coming. We don't know what that could be. Some people say it may be that some of the impact is pushed out a little bit more in time than just 6 years. Some people say, well, if the $300 didn't let homeowners feel the benefit, maybe we need to make that credit larger. That's going to impact you on how much money you can collect. So this isn't done. This is, one step in that direction, according to the legislators.
So, Ms. Herndon, I wanted to make a comment to try to provide a synopsis that's playing in my mind right now. So, forgive me as I struggle and wrestle through this, but with our current operating referendum that is set to expire in 28, we have a 25-cent tax rate. It is going to become increasingly difficult for us to maintain the commitments that our community came out and supported us on as a result of SCA 1, all for minimal savings to the median homeowner in our school district and throughout the state of Indiana. Am I capturing that correctly? And what I think what you're alluding to with regard to communication is what we aim to do and are starting with our partnership with Policy Analytics. And that is, we've got to continue to educate our community on this. So one of the things that we are going to be developing is a website that is just about financial literacy and budget forecasting for Washington Township schools, so that we are warehousing this information. We are making it digestible to the community. So taking a presentation like this and creating a quick FAQ, because that education is going to continue to need to be at the forefront of our conversations moving forward, and just making sure the community is aware where we currently stand, where the budget forecasts and all of that, so that we can make sure that we're working diligently to sustain the commitments that our community came out and supported us with back in 2020.
Excellent.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Appreciate your questions. Ms. Smith knows where I am, so she can get them to us. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you for that. Lots to digest, but then for our last agenda item, special events and liaison reports. I'm going to start with Mr. Thompson and then go around.
Okay. I wasn't expecting that. Went to lots of football games. So that's always been great. While we haven't had any wins, it's really good to see our football team. They're getting better. So
2 wins.
not the games since I've been to.
Okay, since the last board meeting.
Yes,
Okay, since the last board meeting.
Also got the opportunity to attend with Dr. Taylor and Ms. Fry yesterday. Barnes and Thornburg host legislative a series of legislative luncheons. So we got to speak with Senator Hunley, Senator Ford, and Senator there's one Yoder. Just about priorities for this upcoming legislative session, and got to talk with some of our other Marion County School Board colleagues and district staff. So that was really helpful. I've done other stuff I can't remember, but I will give a shout out to the football team. They're having next Friday the Panther Red Zone party. So similar to Bash, but it's a silent auction and party for supporting the North Central football team for this upcoming year. So it's Friday, 6:30, and I'll be going there and invite the community to come out as well. Thanks.
I attended or participated in one of the strategic plan pillar meetings. We all are assigned to one of the pillars of the plan, and so we had a really great conversation about developing the implementation strategies for that pillar, and that was very exciting. And then followed up, attended a PTO meeting at North Central to talk to a group of parents about things that they want to see on the particular project we're working on. And that was really great to listen to that. Got some super feedback on that. And then attended the district safety meeting. That was really beneficial and interesting. And I think my one takeaway is that I'm getting my second term on this board, and I every day am still shocked by the complexities of every single thing that happens in this district. And it's not just kids get on the bus, or if there's an accident with the bus, you call 911. The ripple that goes beyond that and all of the planning that goes into that is just absolutely stunning. And it's very eye-opening. So I do appreciate being in those, listening and being in those conversations.
Don't have anything to report.
For me, I think it was technically should have been on last time's, but as the liaison for ISBA, I did attend the delegate convention on behalf of our district. Unfortunately, I didn't get to attend a lot of the rest of the conference, having just come off of CUBE. But doing those duties, I made it to a football game and also to the legislative caucus event yesterday. And it's always fun to talk to legislatures about what do we get to look forward to this session. It's not a budget year, and we did in fact hear that there's going to be some fixes to SEA 1, but nobody knows what that looks like, and who knows what's really going to happen. But what you were saying, Ms. Herndon, was very much something we heard in the room, and so we have some more of those coming up. And then as always, there's I know a couple of us have been pretty engaged with just the standard issues with talking to parents about bus stop concerns and teacher concerns and things like that. So I know just over these last couple weeks, I've had the opportunity to just have some direct communication with some parents and Dr. Taylor and stuff. Oh, and sorry, one last thing. As part of my regular meetings with Dr. Taylor, I had also asked for a little bit of a review on some of the North Central Athletics Department. So Dr. Taylor is kind enough to set that up to just talk about strengths and weaknesses and where we're going with our athletic. Thank you.
I gave myself permission to be off the grid.
All right. And that concludes the special events and liaison reports. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
We're adjourned. Thank you.